Tell me, giant holographic woman, what is the secret to get amazing cinematic lighting?
You little dummy. You look too slow.
How much longer is this going to take? I know the secret's in here somewhere. I just have to find it. Where are you? Wait. What's this? It all makes sense now. I can see it so clearly.
What's up guys, Spencer Sakurai here, and today I want to talk about a common lighting formula that you'll see in Hollywood films. Now if we go back and look at some of the shots that I've recreated in the intro, we can see some commonalities in them. So the first thing that you'll notice that all these shots have in common is that the camera is shooting into the dark side of the face. Now this is a really good place to start when you're lighting a shot. Now the reason I start with this first is because there might already be a light source around that you want to use for motivation for the rest of your scene. And so if you just automatically shoot into the dark side, say you're using the sun, you can just shoot with everything backlit. It's immediately going to add shape to your subject. Or if say you're in a loft like this, you could use the window as your motivation. I know that's where the light's going to come from, and so I'm going to automatically put the camera on this side of the subject. And that's just an easy way to automatically make a shot look more dynamic. Now the next thing we're going to talk about goes hand in hand with the first technique. So you're going to shoot into the shadow side of your subject, but you're going to need a light source coming from the other side. So you're not always going to have that light source. Like I mentioned, you could have something in the room or in the scene to help motivate it. But you're probably going to want to set up your own light so you can have full control. So if we're going to start by putting the camera on the shadow side or the down side of the face, and then you're going to want to put the key light on the other side. Now a general rule is to not put a light or your key light right over top of the camera, flat with the subject, because that's going to make that downside go away and you're going to lose that dynamic contrast. But if you take your key light and you put it at least 15 degrees off camera, you're going to start to get that shape that you're looking for. Now you're not just going to want to throw up a light and shoot it right into your subject. You're probably going to want to modify that light to make it look more pleasant to the eye. So you'll notice that a lot of Hollywood films are going to shoot into the downside of the subject and they're going to put a key light on the other side, but they're going to soften that key light to make that light wrap farther around the subject. Now it's going to make those shadows on the other side of the face less harsh and less distracting and more pleasant to the eye. So if you look at the shot recreation from Blade Runner 2049, you'll notice that the motivation for the light is coming from the giant holographic woman. So in this scenario, the light source is already big and wide, so it's already going to be fairly soft on the subject. If you notice, the light isn't necessarily right in front of the camera, it's just a little off, just enough, just to add a shadow on this side of his face. So to start recreating this shot, I was going to just immediately start using these techniques. First thing I did was put the camera just a little off center with the face, and then I put my light source really high in front of him, but just a little off center from the camera. And it's already going to be a big soft source. So I took some diffusion out of a 5-in-1 reflector. I put it on a stand, I put it pretty high up in the air, and I shot an aperture 120D Mark II through that, but I put a purple gel over the light to give it that nice pink hue. So we've got a big soft source coming from over here. I'm shooting just a little off center to get a little bit of a shadow on this side of my face. And to top it off, I put some gaff tape over my nose and I put some fake blood on my face to really sell this shot.
Tell me, giant holographic woman, what is the secret to get amazing cinematic lighting?
So another thing you'll notice in this shot, there's not a lot of extra fill light in the scene. So if you have fill light, you're going to start to lose shape on the rest of the subjects in the scene. Also, we're trying to draw attention to the subject. So by having the background and everything around it just a little bit darker, that's going to help accentuate your subject. So in most cases, like you'll see in my other recreations, I'm using negative fill. I'm bringing negative fill to block light. Now there's a little bit of pink bleeding onto the background, but you'll notice there's other little lights in the scene to kind of give it interest, but that doesn't mean that there's fill light filling the whole scene and making the whole scene bright. If you bring down that light, you're going to get a much richer image. Alright, so let's take what we've learned and look at these other shots and see how they all have that same commonality. Now I don't have a beer today because it's in the middle of the day, so I have this off-brand LaCroix to get me by. Okay, so let's look at the next shot. This is a shot from my favorite movie, The Prestige. It's Hugh Jackman and he's on a train. He's in a little train car or something, sitting in a chair with light coming from the window. If you notice, the camera's just a little bit off center and it's shooting into the shadow side of the face, and the motivated key light is coming from the window. Now, even though a window is small, the light source is coming from the sky, which is a really big source. Now that's maybe being diffused by clouds or something like that, and so it's already kind of a soft source, but it's just being cut out through a window. So I was trying to recreate that myself once again by using a 501 reflector and the aperture 120D. So I sat on my couch, I put a pillow behind me, and I put a green jacket over the pillow to kind of match that other cushion in the background. Now I couldn't just throw up this diffusion and make it look the same as the original shot. I had to sort of create a window. So in order to make this look more natural, I had to cut off some of the light off the background because the window was already doing that in the scene. Now I probably would have done this either way because I usually like to take a little bit of light off the background. But we're working in a really small space and it's kind of difficult because if you have a giant source here that's going to be soft, it's going to kind of spill everywhere. So I took the fabric that usually goes on the 501 reflector and I took the black side and I just draped it over the side of the diffusion, which took enough of the light off the wall, but still gave me a soft, square-ish light that could act as the window as my key light on this side of my face. And by cutting that light, that also helped prevent spill in the scene, so I didn't have that extra fill light that we were talking about that we normally don't want in our scenes. Now obviously getting the highlights to match was almost impossible because film. And so let's move on to the third and final shot of the recreations. This is a shot of Brad Pitt from one of the most beautiful movies ever made, in my opinion, The Tree of Life. So let's break it down. Like I said before, you can use light sources in the room as your motivation to begin with. Now they use a technique here that I love to use. They put some shears over the windows to make the light softer already. So that's a practical way of getting soft light into your scene without having to use a Hollywood modifier. Actually, I love this technique so much that I actually keep a set of shears in my car at all times just in case I need to whip it out, put it on a window, and make the scene softer. So these techniques work out perfect for this. So if he wants to shoot on the shadow side, that's going to be opposite of the window, put the shears in front of it, which creates a really nice soft source, and then he literally had Brad Pitt touch the shears. So that's going to give him really beautiful soft light all the way around him. Now the only thing I can guess is that they probably brought in some negative fill to make sure there's no fill in the room, bouncing back and hitting the shadow side of his face. This is a really simple and easy technique. You can throw up shears pretty much anywhere and get a very similar and gorgeous shot. Okay, so let's recap. You're going to set your subject, and then you're going to put the camera mostly on the shadow side of the face, and then on the opposite side, you're going to put your key light. You're probably going to want it to be soft so it has a nice wrap and not long shadows. And the third step is to control as much light as you can in the room, take away as much fill as you can. That way you're the only thing controlling the light hitting the subject. It also helps bring down the background a little bit and accentuate your subject. But I would say the next time you watch one of your favorite Hollywood films, see if they're using these techniques in the film. Are they shooting into the dark side? Are they using soft lighting? The only difference I ever see is that when someone is shooting on 35mm film, you notice that they use a little bit of a harder light. Film has a lot of latitude and is way more forgiving, and it gives you the ability to use harsher light sometimes without looking so distracting on a face or on your subject. Well, I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something, and as always, until next time, cheers.